I'm actually a entrepreneur in residence at the university, and I work with companies to commercialize their products. This is my, I've whittled it all down to one. This is the one that I'll be working with going forward. So having your attention and hearing what we have to talk about is appreciated. Brian is here. Where are you, Brian? All the way in the back. There he is. Brian and I are appreciative of your attendance. Also, please pass the word along on to all the tech people. They've done a grand job of making this whole thing happen. So we're going to talk about shapes. The name of the conference is Shapes. We're going to talk about doesn't look like anything's going to work. Oh, there we are. Is this one working? Ah, yeah, good. Okay. So Copprium's mission is to bring to market conductive inks, copper-based conductive inks that are cost-effective, easy to use. They are eco-friendly. We've heard a lot about that this week already, and easy to work with. We've been in existence for 3 years, and we've spent a lot of time talking to customers about what they need in the different types of inks that are out there. And the one thing that we've actually learned is that printable electronics are becoming the building blocks, the foundational blocks of our electronics industry and our world. And printed electronics powered by conductive inks are really, from our perspective, the shape of things to come. You might be familiar with this curve. It's a shape that many of us have looked at. This is Jeffrey Moore's interpretation of technology innovation. He started it up with Regis McKenna Consulting out on the West Coast back in the 80s. I like it because it does really help us understand where things are. So right now, the size and shape of the different time frames is what really is going to drive innovation. But we're going to get into some detail about what is or isn't in the way of that happening. So you'll see this shape a couple of times. On the left is what I call previous generation macro and moving into the micro capabilities. Current generation, starting to take off nanoparticles and moving into the future generation, next generation, molecular and other types of zero particle or other chemistry solutions. The challenge, though, for today's inks, the ones that people are using in the industry, is that they aren't and put it in quotes because I'm not picking on anybody, the right shape, right? They are flake-based, they are large particle. They work really well for what I call the entry-level electronics, the grunt electronics, in a lot of cases, high-volume electronics that don't require a lot of processing. The complexity is not super high. Now, we're getting there, and there's a lot of innovation that we've seen out on, everybody up here voted that there's too much stuff to see on the floor. Current inks are fine. They're not going to go away, but there are some challenges commercially, technically, as well as how they work that you might want to know about some other solutions. So, but why are we sticking with copper-based, right? Silver is out there. Everybody seems to be using silver. We're using and looking at copper-based because we think some of the obstacles that are coming our way will require copper. And we'll talk about that in a minute. We are high on copper because it's an industry, it's got a long history in the industry. People understand it and how to use it. It's relatively easy to use, although some of the challenges in the nanotech world are interesting. It has excellent performance, second only to silver. It has two other aspects to it that we need to talk about. It's cost effective and supply chain friendly, and that's actually going to be an obstacle for other technology. So we believe that nanotechnology, for nanotechnology inks, copper is an ideal candidate. In some ways, you could, if what we believe comes to pass and moves forward, you might actually look at copper as the once and future king. It was the king, it's been dethroned, and we think it's going to come back. So let's move forward into where things kind of are now and where these obstacles are that we're talking about. So current generation, we're trending up the curve, if you will. The technologies we're looking at in here are nanoplate, nanowire, nanotube. Obviously, a lot of silver. There's also other materials like carbon and carbon-based alternatives. You're looking at pretty small particle sizes, although not necessarily small enough for a lot of the advanced applications that people want to get